Cool. Hopefully everyone's in their breakout rooms. Today we're talking about Mongoose, and that's basically like talking to the database. So pretty exciting. We're finally getting our full stack on, bottom all the way to the top. So we're going to talk a little about documents, just kind of review them from Tim's wonderful presentation last time, talk about Atlas, and then the actual Mongoose package. So documents, they're JSON, JavaScript objects. That's what we store in the databases. And if you've programmed in Java, Python, any object-oriented programming language, you've kind of dealt with objects. Although there's a little twist with Mongo, and that's that it doesn't require all documents to share the same schema. So like this example on the right, we have like me, I'm not 21, but like me, Finn, little silly goose, but like he has a description attribute. I don't. And then Jillian, like she doesn't even have an age, it's just a year. So Mongoose lets us do all of this. And we can't really, like there's no rules against it, but we can enforce rules at an application level. And we'll get to that later. But basically the point is like all these can be in the same collection within a database. Relationships, with SQL, it's pretty easy. You just kind of like have these connections. So like here's some members and projects they've worked on, and then a list of projects and like, maybe their contact. And we break data up like this. That way, if we want to change something within SlowBG, we only have to change it once. And it kind of applies to all of them if we join the data together. So this is a SQL approach to these kinds of relationships. With NoSQL, it's a little harder to do it. The traditional approach is kind of storing the entire object within another object. And that can get pretty messy, just because all of a sudden you have like massive objects with tons of nesting in it. Luckily, Mongoose does give us a way to get around this by kind of using references to other objects. And like we want to use that. That way we're not duplicating data like this. Like let's say the SlowBG contact updates from ABC to like literally anything else. We would have to change it twice in this example, but if we were using a reference, we would only change it in one place, and then that would get applied everywhere else. So it's kind of ideal for us. Now Atlas, this is kind of a gift from the Mongo gods. So the people that made Mongo, they also set up a database as a service. And for us, this is super awesome. Like we don't have to worry about servers. Like if they're up, if they're holding data properly, there's no maintenance we have to do. So, we're super thankful Atlas exists, and it's what we're going to be using to kind of store all of our data. And there's another benefit to like using a cloud database service, and that's that we can all use the same one at the same time when we're kind of developing the product, instead of like having our own data sets scattered throughout. It just makes developing a lot easier. So how do we actually like talk with Atlas? We have this package called Mongoose. This lets us perform CRUD operations, which are the create, read, update, and delete data from the database. So Mongoose, it is a node package. This isn't the one that the Mongo developers made. They did make one, but we'll use Mongoose. It's just a little easier to get started with. Personal preference. You can read into it if you want to. But Mongoose, it gives us some of these nice features here. It'll help us manage relationships between documents. That way we're not getting that nested problem that we kind of saw with the members and projects. And it kind of lets us treat documents as though they have keys to kind of access a specific document. It also gives us the ability to validate our schemas. And again, we don't have to do this with MongoDB. Like y'all saw with the name example with descriptions, years, and ages, like there's no rule, but we do typically want to have validated schemas, just so our front-end developers, they kind of know like what they're going to get when they call the database or an endpoint we've made. And this schema validation is enforced on an application level. It's not a database thing we're changing. It also translates objects. It translates the documents from the database into objects we can use within our code, because Mongo doesn't really store our objects like in an easily accessible way. We do have to kind of translate them. And finally, the one I really like, it lets us easily query our data. So here's some examples of these benefits. So with Mongo or Mongoose, we can now reference like projects or other documents just by kind of referencing them. I think I said reference there twice. Hopefully this example kind of makes sense though. Like we're pointing to other documents. This isn't truly how it would look, but it hopefully highlights like what we're doing. And this really takes away the redundant information we're storing. Now we're just storing a pointer to the new data. And when we do this, we're able to also reconstruct the entire document within our application. So we could take this Eric object and then figure out what project 2 and project 3 are, and then build his massive array of projects using those references. Schema validation with Mongoose kind of makes sure like anything we're inserting into the database looks a certain way, and the fields are a certain type of information, like a string, a number. There are others, but this is kind of like what it would look like on an application level. So like if we wanted to make a Twitter clone, you know, we might have some text, a username, and maybe a date it was posted, a tweet was posted. And then like the text would be a string, it's required, and that's what we're gonna index these tweets off of. Username, you know, it'd be a string, you gotta have a username, so it's required. And we can also like have default values. So like this is just an example schema. And we take this schema and we actually build a model using Mongoose, kind of like you can see here. And yeah, that's really just to make sure like when we're dealing with tweets, we know what we're getting. And it's not just like, hopefully our backend developers are being nice to us. No, now we're guaranteed that we're getting the proper data. And then last big plus, with Mongoose, we can use queries that are built in to really easily get specific data. And they're of this form: the model name, the function name, and whatever condition you want to apply. So some example functions, there are a lot of these, but like if you want to find stuff, you can use find. If you want to update many of something, updateMany, deleteOne, boom, there's a function for that. And here's kind of how you'd use it with that previous tweet example. Like if you want to find all the tweets, you say find anything that's an object, and it'll give it all back to you. You want to find tweets with the username of Ethan, boom, just like this. And if you want to delete tweets that have bad as their text, that's kind of how you do it. And I'm sure y'all will use them for more robust purposes than this, but kind of an example, I guess. And this gives us that CRUD functionality that we're really looking for with the database. So now like we can actually watch, y'all can watch me do some of this. hopefully it's kind of fun. And for this one, the code's actually on GitHub right now, in a private repository, so you can't see it. But I'll make it public after, and kind of write up a README and give some more descriptive like docs if you want to try and figure out how to plug in a front end, back end, and a database all together. So, I mean, I guess I can start going now, unless anyone had questions about all that theoretical stuff. Okay, cool. So the first thing we would do is we'd come over to Atlas, and we'd hit create a new cluster. We would set up our cloud stuff, tell it like what kind of just specs we want. I promise there is a free tier. I just already have something set up, so it's not gonna show that. But once we get all that set up, we'll create a database user, and that's kind of how we log on to our database. Otherwise, it's like open to the web, bad for security. So we get our user, then we get a special kind of URL to access it. And once we take all that, we can actually move on to the application side of things. So I went ahead and set up a nice full stack little app just for this demo. I don't think you'll want to watch me code at all, but I'll walk through it really quick. So I've already initialized a node project, installed some packages like Express, Mongoose, some more. So that's what the node modules and package have. Within models, or I guess let's look at HTML really quick. So we have a nice web page, super basic. Oh, I guess I can show y'all what it actually looks like. Boom, that's like a super basic web page. Here's the code for it. Not too fancy. There's some CSS, not really important for the demo. And then there's some JavaScript, little messy, but it's basically like you're getting the random recipe from the server. If you've done that, same kind of idea. Like you're making HTML, you're getting and posting things to the server. So hopefully, like, I guess just accept that it works. That's the front end side of things. So if we go back, now we have this index and models. Within models, we have a tweet model, and this should look familiar from the slides. It's just kind of like a text username and date for a tweet, and we export that and we get it back in our index. So this is that tweet schema that we're looking for. Oh, and feel free to jump in if you have questions, I guess. So most of the work's going to be happening in our index file. I'll walk through this really quick. We're setting up our Express server. We have body parser. We're actually using an environment file to get our database URL because I don't want to show y'all, otherwise you can mess with my database. We're getting that tweet schema that we just showed with this line. We're connecting to the database with all this. I don't really know what it all means, but this is how you connect to the database with the URL right up here. And then we use some nice Express middleware that we're all familiar with to serve up those HTML files and kind of get ready for dealing with post requests here. All these empty methods, empty functions, we'll fill in a minute, but that's like how we're going to be talking with the database. And down here is where we set up our Express endpoints, so we're ready to talk with the front end, because we all know how to do that by now, hopefully, maybe not. Yeah, so I guess we could start with this get tweets method, or I could show you all the database first. So there are two things in here right now because I did this demo on my own a little earlier. So just to get these two documents from the database, we will come here and just return any database call is going to be an asynchronous function. So we have to wait for it with our await. And then we just say tweet find all tweets and save that. And I have the server running in the background. So hopefully if we come back over here and refresh, yeah, now we're getting tweets from the database. So that's like one line of code, and yeah, mini Twitter, kind of. So now if we want to actually be able to create tweets, we have this set up in a way now where when the server gets a post request, it knows like send the username and text to this create tweet function right here. So yeah, except that it works and we're doing database stuff right now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to return a new tweet, and that'll look something like that. And within the tweet, we're going to just have the text and the username that we're getting from the function that calls this one. And after we do that, we just have to tell it to, save the new tweet. And that should be saving it to the database. I guess we can come back over here and find out. So new tweet, I don't know, just got a fresh cut from Eric. So if we tweet that, boom, it's there. And kind of the cool part, if we refresh the page, it stays there. So that kind of like super powerful with databases. When you're just dealing with JavaScript alone, if you refresh it, all the stuff in memory kind of gets wiped and you start over. But now like that tweet will stay there forever unless we implement this delete button. Ooh, transition right there. So let's hop back over to the code, come here, and we'll use a deleteOne function. I'm pretty sure there's a delete by ID, but for demo purposes, I think we're chilling. So we'll just return a tweet, or delete one. So delete one of the tweets, and then within there, we're gonna give it kind of the conditional statement. So we'll say like delete the tweet with the certain ID. So save that and come back over here. So Eric, he's embarrassed by his cut. He wants to delete the tweet. So boom, he deletes it. And now if we refresh the page, it's gone from the database. If we want to throw it back, just got a fresh cut, Eric, we can. All that works fine. And we can actually see it in here now. So boom, it's stored in our database. Kind of cool. The last thing we might want to do with Twitter is like see all the tweets from a certain person. So let's give Eric another tweet. Ashamed of my cut. I don't know. If we wanted to see like tweets just by Eric, like we'd want to be able to click on his name. I don't know if y'all can see the URL, but it'd say like from Eric. So basically we want to get a like special find using a username. And we can do that pretty similar to this one up here, the get tweets, with just a return await because it's async, tweet find. And then within here, we will just say username equals username. And I think that's enough if we refresh. Yeah. So now we're getting tweets just from Eric. And if we go back home, we get tweets from everybody. So that's kind of like using some simple CRUD operations to get a full stack web app going. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of a neat example to show. Hopefully it was. And yeah, it'll be on GitHub. I'll send a link with more specs out if you want to do it on your own. I don't know, fun practice. And you could definitely re-implement a lot of stuff or like add stuff. If you wanted to update a tweet, for instance, you could figure out how to do that. Or I don't know, like you could kind of let your imagination run wild. Yeah, I think that's cool for the demo. And that's optional if you want to do it. I'd recommend it though, it's fun. For the actual project, I'll stop the share. For the actual project, you'll be moving your recipes that you've created into an actual database. And then you'll kind of modify your logic to be using the new endpoints you set up to be calling the database to get those recipes and put them on your page, kind of like how you do the random recipes. So it's like, oh, that logic's going to be coming back. And this will give you the ability to rate your recipes, which you can't do right now, I don't think. Yeah, you're basically going to be building your own endpoints with CRUD operations. Specs will come out soon. It's week 7. I'm a little behind. Apologies. Yeah, so specs will come out soon. I think that's all we have for dealing with Mongoose. So thank you all for watching me code again. And if you have questions, please ask.